All right, we're going to start Unit 15, Lesson 2, and we're going to estimate square roots between two whole numbers. So these aren't going to be our perfect squares anymore. These are going to be how we're going to figure out what a square root of some number is when it's not a perfect square. So, estimating square roots. What do we do if we don't have a calculator? All right, if you don't have something right on hand for you to do that, what are we going to do? Well, what you can do is we're going to estimate the square root using what we know about perfect squares. So, we know 2 squared, the perfect of that is 4. 5 squared, the perfect of that is 25. So what would the square root of 4 be? Well, it's 2. Square root of 25, it's 5. So we're going to use those numbers that we know to help us figure out what could be that square root. So, estimating the following square roots. You could have out your guided notes from Lesson 1 and have out that list of all those perfect squares, right? 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared. What are all of those? So we're going to try to estimate the following square root of 28, okay? So we want to find the square root of it. We're not taking 28 squared, we're trying to find the root, okay? The root is that smaller number that makes it up, okay? So what times itself gives us 28? Well, it's not a perfect number, right? So in order for us to estimate it, we have to figure out which two perfect squares does it fall in between. Well, we know that when we take 5 squared, we get 25, right? So it's in between 25. And we know when we take 6 squared, that's 36. So it's in between our perfects of 25 and 36. So this estimating of our square root, it's in between 5 and 6. Now, that's kind of all I want to do for right now, and we'll break into it sooner, but it's just saying which one is it in between? Well, I guess let's talk about it. So it's in between 5 and 6, right? The number itself. It's not 4, okay? The square root of that would not be 4, and it wouldn't be 7. But let's think, which one is it closer to? So the number 25 and 36, and I'm getting 25 and 36 because they have a relationship with these two numbers, right? 5 squared gives me 25, 6 squared gives me 36, and 28 is in between, right? Would we agree with that? Okay. Now, let's figure out, though, which one is it closer to? Is it closer to 25 or is it closer to 36? Well, it's only, what, 3 away from 25, and it's 8 away from 36, so it's going to be closer to 5, and that's going to be important for our assignment and for a little bit later. So it's going to be closer than 5. Now, I wouldn't even want to do, we can't do over 6, okay? I want you to understand that too for when we talk about what is its actual square root. It's not going to be over 6, okay? Because anything over 6 would be greater than 36, and our number's less than that. So it's closer to 5, but it's in between 5 and 6. So it's going to be a decimal that would make up our root of 28. All right, so let's now estimate for the following of 18. So which two perfect squares does it fall in between? Well, let's talk about our perfect squares again. We've got 3 squared is 3 times 3 gives you 9. You have 4 squared, which is 4 times 4 gives you 16. It's not in between those yet. But then we have 5 squared gives me 25. So which two perfect squares does it fall in between? Well, it falls in between 4 and 5. And this should be going on that little part of your notes, okay? So which two perfect squares does it fall in between? 4 and 5. Now let's just have a conversation, though. Which one does it fit closer to? So we're talking about 18. So 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. And the number we want is 18. So which one does it fall closer to? Well, these two are only 2 away. These two are 7 away. So it's going to fall a little bit closer to the 4, okay? But it's somewhere in between 4 and 5. So it could be 4.2, 4.3, but not a perfect square, okay? But we can find the root of 18 eventually, okay? Estimating it. All right, and then our last one for the notes is to estimate the following of 57. Well, which two perfect squares does it go through? Well, let's see. 6 squared gives us 36. 7 squared gives us 49. 8 squared gives us 64. So it's going to fall in between which two perfect squares? 7 and 8. And let's just talk about it. Which one is it closer to? Well, 7 squared was 49. 8 squared is 64. And the number we want to find is 57. So which one would it be closer to? Well, from 49, it's 8 away. And from 64, it's 7 away. So it's pretty close. It's almost right in the middle, wouldn't it be? But it is a little bit closer to our perfect square of 8. So 57's estimated square root would be somewhere in between 7 and 8. So now it's time for you to head to your assignment, all right? All of this is just going to be reviewing some square rooting, and then what two numbers do these square roots fall in between to help us get ready for our next lesson.